Now, on the election edge, Kamala Harris picks Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. Who is he and how Republicans are attacking him? Plus, Arkansas politicians are reacting to the pick, what they're saying, and a Trump-Harris debate appears to be upon us. How RFK Jr. is doing in his campaign as Donald Trump struggles to find an attack against Harris.
The Election Edge with Jackson Mitchell starts right now.
Welcome to The Election Edge. I'm Jackson Mitchell, and we are now 86 days away from the November 5th general election. How does it feel to be here on a Sunday? This is where the show has moved and will be from now on. All right, let's go ahead and get started here, starting first with Vice President Kamala Harris's newly announced running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. As both Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have been on a swing state tour, here's what Walz has been saying.
J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
And of course, Republicans have begun launching their attacks against him, specifically on his military record. Here's some facts before I show you some video. Walz was high-ranking as he served for the Minnesota National Guard. That rank, Command Sergeant Major, one of the top ranks for an enlisted soldier. He did, in fact, achieve that rank, but personnel files show he was reduced in rank months after retiring. While enlisted, Walz never served in a combat zone. The closest he got was in 2003 when he deployed to Italy in a support position of active military forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. But again, not serving in a combat zone himself. But a video posted by the Harris campaign where he suggests he was.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Here's how J.D. Vance, the Republican VP nominee, is responding.
I think the evidence at this point is overwhelming that he lied about serving in a combat zone.
Now, a campaign spokesperson did release a statement saying, quote, Governor Walz would never insult or undermine any American service to this country. In fact, he thanked Senator Vance for putting his life on the line for our country. It's the American way, end quote. The Harris campaign spokesperson said in that statement. That statement continued by saying, quote, in making the case for why weapons of war should never be on our streets and our classrooms, the governor misspoke. He did handle weapons of war and believed strongly that only military members trained to carry those deadly weapons should have access to them, unlike Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who prioritized the gun lobby over our children, end quote. Sticking on the same topic, though, Arkansas politicians are reacting to the pick of Walz as Harris's vice presidential nominee. Letterboxd KRK reporting, quote, Senate President Bart Hester, the Republican from Cave Springs, told KRK Fox 16 he feels Walz was a radical, far-left choice for Harris that won't win over independent voters. But Democratic Senator Clark Tucker, the Democrat from Little Rock, said he feels a lot of Americans and even Arkansans will identify with him. Tucker also said, quote, he lowered the cost of insulin to $35 a month. He makes sure kids can eat breakfast and lunch when they go to school. He got rid of junk fees, end quote. Now, there's really a lot to talk about, especially when we talk about the Harris-Walz ticket. Since the beginning of the Harris ticket, now Walz included, there has been this large amount of momentum surrounding them, what many are calling the, quote, honeymoon phase, or sugar phase, you could say, of the campaign. Now, the question is, how long will this go? As Harris has done no media interviews or press conference. Now, Trump attacked that exact thing during a press conference held earlier this week in Palm Beach, Florida.
They may or may not agree. I don't know if they're going to agree. She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview. But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight.
Okay, since we're sticking on this topic here, I want to go to polling now because a new New York Times Siena poll shows Harris leading in 3 battleground states. Now, of course, polling's just a snapshot in time. So the question still remains. I mean, when will this momentum go away, or is it going to stay when she's not doing media interviews? And to add, she's giving pretty much the exact same speeches at each of her rallies. The answer to the question, time, is what I think it is. Moving on now, though, to the second presidential debate, but first including Harris. At that press conference that I showed you a clip of earlier, Donald Trump agreed to the ABC News debate on September 10th after backing out once Biden dropped out of the race. Trump says he would like to do multiple other debates, while Harris has left that question open.
With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox, we've agreed with NBC, and we've agreed with ABC.
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it, and hope he shows up.
Are you open to more debates?
I am happy to have that conversation about an additional debate for after September 10th, for sure.
Turning now, though, to the Trump campaign. Since Biden has left the race and Harris entered, Trump is struggling to find attacks that work against Harris, while the Harris campaign appears to have one.
Anyway, the presidency was taken away from Joe Biden, and I'm no Biden fan, but I'll tell you what, from a constitutional standpoint, from any standpoint you look at, they took the presidency away. And people were saying he lost after the debate. He couldn't win. Well, I don't know that that's true necessarily. But whether he could win or he couldn't win, he had the right to run. Because Kamala's record is horrible. She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who scammed consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Okay, we're always hearing and talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, Tim Walz, but there's another candidate in this race for the White House, the independent candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And look at this, a new report from NBC News titled, RFK Jr.'s Incredible Disappearing Campaign. I want to read you a pretty big piece of this article. Listen in here. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s independent presidential campaign is disappearing, both on the trail and in the polls. The last public event put on by Kennedy was in Freeport, Maine on July 9th. Kennedy has since spoken virtually and appeared at a cryptocurrency conference and events put on by others. But he hasn't been stumping on the campaign trail. He did speak in person with reporters the day President Joe Biden dropped out of the race. And it's been months since the running mate, Nicole Shanahan, has had any public event on the campaign trail. Kennedy's public poll numbers are dropping from around 9% or 10% in national surveys before Biden dropped out, now to about half that level now. His financial report showed the campaign carrying debt equal to more than half of the $5.6 million they had in the bank. That report goes on to say, quote, and when Kennedy has been in the public spotlight of late, it's been for bad reasons. Vanity Fair reported in July that Kennedy groped a former family babysitter, Eliza Cooney, in 1999. Kennedy sent text messages to Cooney days after the article's release apologizing yet saying he had, quote, no memory of the incident. Kennedy also revealed before the publication of the New Yorker profile that included the story his bizarre decision years ago to pick up a dead bear on a roadside and then stage a bicycle accident scene with it in New York Central Park. And at first, RFK Jr. was this candidate that was, the candidate that would be perfect for those double haters, those people that they didn't like Joe Biden, they didn't like Donald Trump. But then we kind of figured out his views didn't really align with the Democrats. And plus, his own family, the Kennedy family, endorsing President Biden when he was still in the race. But that's going to do it for me on this Election Edge edition of the Election Edge. I'll see you all on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. And like I said on BFMN, get out, do that yard work if you have any.